Welcome to another Chucklevision Man 2 review. This time I'll be reviewing my British comedy collection, or in other terms my British sitcom collection, consisting of both books and DVDs. So let's get to it. On the top shelf I have all my British sitcom books and novels that I've picked up over the last few years. Most of them would be typically out of print by now, but I've managed to pick them up cheap on sites like Amazon and eBay, which make for nice Christmas presents each year. So to start with, we have Fawlty Towers Fully Booked. This is a book that basically chronicles all the characters, episodes and things. I think they released it along with the original DVD box set in around 2001. As you can see by the artwork, it's the same, identical to the original DVD, which I used to own before I sold it on to get the remastered set. The second book's one my dad picked up, which is basically Fawlty Towers, but the original prints. Features, I think it's the first 3 episodes of series 1. It's the scripts basically. These were the original print of the scripts. You can see on the back with all the different black and white images of the episodes, including the builders and the wedding party, the gourmet night. I think that's for series 1. I don't know. I think it's for all the episodes. It might be half of them. Next Fawlty Towers book is Fawlty Towers by Graham McCann, which is the story of Britain's favourite sitcom, which basically chronicles the lives of the main cast before they came to Fawlty Towers, and how John Cleese grew up and how he came to write Fawlty Towers, and how it went during the filming, which are quite insightful books, I think. So if you're interested in that, try and pick them up and have a read. Next book is Bouquet. It's Bouquet, not Bucket, by Harold Snowd, written as an accompaniment to Keeping Up Appearances, another popular 90s sitcom, featuring the social climbing snob Hyacinth Bouquet. This book is written by the producer and director. Producer and director of Keeping Up Appearances, Harold Snowd, and he goes through how the series was created, and then how filming went, and then obviously how it ended when Patricia Routledge pulled out and didn't want to do any more. But that's another very insightful book if you're interested in reading it. But behind the scenes on British sitcoms, I recommend that one very much. And then next up is another book they released during when Keeping Up Appearances was on the air, called Hyacinth Bouquet's Book of Etiquette for the Socially Less Fortunate. It's written in the style of Hyacinth, whereby she goes through all the rules she recommends and passes on for people to act like her in a socially acceptable way, which is another quite hilarious read. The second and final book they released during the series run was Hyacinth Bouquet's Hectic Social Calendar, which is set out as a diary for 1996, whereby she goes through what she does each day and her worries and different things, which is quite interesting to read, particularly when she thinks Richard's having an affair later on, which turns out to be wrong, of course. Next is Complete One Foot in the Grave, one of my favourite sitcom books I've picked up. It's a sort of words and pictures book, which is quite graphic in terms of pictures. It goes through the different series of One Foot in the Grave and features excerpts from David Renwick's diary, because he wrote a lot of diary entries during the series creation apparently, and it goes through how each series was put together, the problems, how they overcome obstacles and everything, which is another really interesting read, particularly as One Foot in the Grave is one of my favourite sitcoms. Another One Foot in the Grave book is One Foot in the Grave, simply entitled that. It's basically a novel adaptation of a lot of the plots to go on during the series. The first 2 series, I think, that's when it was written before. It was written before series 3, so it doesn't go very in depth into the series, which is a shame. You could have written it a bit later on. We get a few more plots in there, but it basically adapts it into novel form, which is quite interesting because, again, it's peculiar to see a sitcom portrayed like that, which is another good read. Now, this would also be incorporated into my Chuckle Vision collection, but the Chuckle Brothers 50 Years to You, their biography, was released a few years ago now. And it's, again, it was written by Paul, the youngest of the brothers. Another quite interesting read. It goes through their childhood and how they started out in show business, basically on stage, like their brothers, the Patton brothers, and it goes through all that, and then it recounts their time on Chucklevision and what they're doing now. So it's quite an interesting recap of their life, which we really haven't heard about before. So if you still haven't got that, then I recommend getting it, especially if you're a fan of Chucklevision, because I need to read it again, really. But it was very interesting at the time. I like Paul's style of writing, so that was another interesting one. Next up is one I'm reading at the moment called The Story of Only Fools and Horses, story of Britain's favourite comedy. Notice Fawlty Towers is entitled Britain's Favourite Sitcom, and this is Britain's favourite comedy, so they're basically fighting for the title there, which, personally, I'd say Fawlty Towers is better, but I still like Only Fools and Horses. This, again, written by Graham McCann, basically going through each series, how Only Fools and Horses came about, the different sitcoms John Sullivan did beforehand, and then so far I'm getting through to series 5, just after Leonard Pierce has died and having to replace Grandad, which is quite interesting to see how they do it. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of that. Another interesting read if you like hearing about behind the scenes on sitcoms. Now, the Royal Family, unfortunately, is a different tale. The only books I could pick up for that were the complete scripts, which again is good. I mean, you've got the complete scripts there of another great situation comedy, portrayed very differently without a studio audience and domestic life and everything. But this only counts the first 3 series because it was published in the early 2000s before the show returned for several specials later on. So it's a nice tribute to Caroline Aherne and Liz Smith, who died. So it's basically the brilliant sitcom Caroline created with Craig Cash, who played Dave. So it's a real shame she died, but at least her legacy lives on in these books. And then a sort of short and condensed version is Royal Family My Arse, The Best Bits, which again goes through each episode and picks out the best quotes. Although I'd counter that by saying there's certainly ones they've missed out which would have been good to include, but it's another nice book to have, especially if you're in need of a laugh. It certainly gives you one. As it says at the bottom there, bloody brilliant, which I'd agree with. So that's another good book. Unfortunately, like I was going to say before, they haven't released a behind the scenes book on the Royal Family, which is a real shame, because I think that would be another fascinating read, particularly is how they did it differently. And I'd love to hear about Dave's corpsing all the time, because I imagine he did, particularly as it was revealed in the outtakes of the new specials. But it's a real shame that, because these have all got behind the scenes book and that hasn't, so I'm a bit disappointed with that, but maybe we'll get one day. And that's the extent of my sitcom book collection. I mean, I could include the alternative Highway Code of Top Gear, but I get it, it is humour, but it's not really sitcom, so I'll just mention that. Basically, gives the alternative highway code that's completely contradictory to the normal one, so that's a fairly funny read, but you know, it's not really sitcom. But there you go, is my full sitcom book collection. Now, down on this shelf is where I keep my sitcom DVDs, which at the moment is quite extensive because it's almost filled up a whole shelf, but certainly more I would collect if I had the space, which I will eventually make. So just to start, I'll start on the top bit up here because they'll probably fall down otherwise. So the first sitcom DVDs I have are Catherine Takes Nan, a recent acquisition. I basically the most popular of Catherine Tate's sketch characters, got a spin-off of her own, several episodes so far. Joni Taylor, her name is, a really foul-mouthed, audacious grandmother who's rude and cantankerous to everyone, but it's very funny, I find. Not surprisingly, out of all the characters, she's the funniest, so I'm glad she got a spin-off, and I do like them episodes. Next up is Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie. Of course, this was a big hit when it came out, and I was a big fan of it as well. Went to see it at the cinema, especially when Mrs. Brown was at her high, which she still is, but this was a good movie when it came out, so it's always nice to have to watch. In the meantime, I have Mrs. Brown's Boys Live, bought as a present several years back. Good Morning, Mrs. Brown, one of her live stage shows. They recorded them all to DVD as of late. Quite interesting. I've only watched it once, but basically it's very similar to the TV show, so it's not often I watch that, but still good. Another recent acquisition, I haven't watched them all yet, but The Moaning of Life by Carl Pilkington. I got An Idiot Abroad last year to try it out because it's recommended, and I found it very funny. Particularly his rather grumpy attitude to life, and I quite like that, so I thought I'd get this sort of sequel to work through. So I've enjoyed it so far, so I hope the rest of it's good as well. And up here we have the Mr. Bean full box set, Bean's Brilliant Box Set as it entitled. It features all the TV sketches he did back in the 90s. Gotta be a fan of Mr. Bean. It's hard not to laugh at him, really, especially he doesn't actually say anything. That's the ingenuity of it all. So it's another funny watch. I'd recommend getting that if you don't already, if you do like Mr. Bean. Then on to my main other sitcoms. I have The Complete One Foot in the Grave, one of my favourite sitcoms of all time. Since I was younger, I've always been a fan of that. And I have One Foot in the Grave, the very best of. This was my original One Foot in the Grave DVD, but I've always kept it just to add to the collection. And there's Fawlty Towers Remastered, which is a great upgrade from the original box set because it features commentaries on all episodes of John Cleese, which is a very, very unique feature, because the fact that he tells different stories about each episode, but at the same time he's wheezing and laughing at the parts in it, which is you know, you end up laughing yourself, which is a lovely feature to have, really, because you can't imagine having many commentaries where people are actually laughing at their own work, which is nice to have. And then there's Mrs. Brown's Boys Series 1. Very excited when that came out. Mrs. Brown's Boys Series 2. And Mrs. Brown's Boys Series 3. Oh, no, they're Series 3. Then the Christmas Crackers, featuring the first 3 Christmas specials. More Christmas Crackers, featuring 2 more. Mammy's Tickle Pink and Mammy's Gamble, featuring 2 more. And then the latest ones from last year, Mammy's Christmas Punch and Mammy's Widow's Memories, on the cracking Christmas DVD. Moving on, I have... Next up is The Royal Family. Another brilliant sitcom. The Royal Family album. This features first 3 series plus Queen of Sheba and the New Sofa specials. This is an old box set, but I also then have the Golden Egg Cup and Joe's Crackers from 2010. I never bothered getting
2012 Christmas special Barber's Old Ring, because well, it's not that good really, but I might get it one day. I'll just get a new collection or something. I'll leave Chucklevision out for another review. I also have the Catherine Tate Show, all 3 series. Recently got that. Quite enjoying it. Some are hit and miss, that's the thing with sketch shows, but series 2's definitely improved on series 1 so far. Up here I have Face. Quite enjoyed that at the time. Not a bad series. Then there's the Phone Jacker plus Face Jacker. Do like Phone Jacker, it's quite funny. DVD. Very funny. Good series, that's what it is. Father Ted, of course. Not a classic series. Another Irish humour there, but captivated by the captivated British people as well. Nice one to have in the collection. One of the probably best of all time, really. Some mothers do have them. It's a bit hit and miss, this. I do like it though, it's quite funny at times. I remember seeing the episode in the hotel when I was younger and we were crying with laughter at it, so I thought I'd better see them all one day. When he was destroying the hotel, that was a funny one. And of course, An Idiot Abroad. Great series this. Really enjoyed it. The way he used to swear and be grumpy. And Ricky Gervais and everything was very funny. Then we have The Only Fools and Horses complete collection, featuring all 7 series and 15 Christmas specials and 26 discs. Won't take it out, you know what it looks like, it's in there. Big set to take up room, but you know, it's worth it for a good series like that. And up here I have Little Britain series 1 and 2. Another good series from Matt Lucas and David Walliams. Do like that. Little Britain Live. Quite a good adaptation. Benny Dawn. Another big fan of Benny Dawn, particularly Madge. Madge's character is very funny. The way she swears at everyone. A bit like the Nan character, I do like her very much. So it's good to have that in the collection. Some series are better than others, of course. Then I have Keeping Up Appearances series 1 and 2. Keeping Up Appearances series 3 and 4. Keeping Up Appearances series 5. Certainly gets better between series 3 and 4 and 5. That's a definite. And then I have A Good Night Sweetheart series 1 to 6. Recently watched that. I do like it, but you know, it's a different kind of sitcom. It's not as funny as others. So certainly worth a watch. Then there's Not Going Out series 1, series 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then 6 and 7. The good news is it's coming back for 3 more series. The most recent starting this Friday, or tomorrow, from when I filmed this. So if you get around to watching that, please do, because it's very funny, and I'm glad it's still going, because it's a really good sitcom with really fast-paced gags. So certainly something to look forward to in the comedy spectrum this year. And that is my comedy DVD collection. And one final piece of merchandise I own is the Only Fools and Horses Robin Reliant money box, which I got from our Only Fools and Horses convention several years back. It must be 6 years ago now, nearly. Yeah, over it, I think. That was quite a nice acquisition from a unique convention, certainly. So that was it's quite a nice novelty item, really. So it's certainly a nice piece of merchandise to own. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it very insightful, and I hope to produce many more in the future, reviewing specific new purchases or individual items that may be of interest to everyone. So thank you for watching this video. Please do like, subscribe and even comment if you wish, and I'll be back with more videos soon. There's plenty to come on Chucklevision and 2 this year. Till then, thanks for watching.